Hello everybody and welcome back to Sweet and Sour Soccer. And yes, I am back because Wolves have made their first signing of the winter window. And what's surprising about this is that we've done it before the window has even opened. I mean, this is something which isn't really known to Wolves. We usually deal in the market quite late, to be honest, compared to other clubs. Maybe this is a positive sign of things to come under the Julian Lopetegui era. And of course, I am going to give you a quick update on that transfer. Matheus Cunha, who will be joining from Atletico Madrid, nearly said Atletico then. Yes, he will be joining, and it is going to be the first signing of the Julian Lopetegui era. And I am going to give you a quick update, and it will have to be relatively quick because I am just about to head to the game. I've just finished work. I've got about half an hour to record, edit, and get this up onto YouTube. So it's going to be a quick update. But I wanted to give a bit of background and just give you my feeling around this transfer because it was Fabrizio Romano who broke the news on Twitter this afternoon. It looks like it's going to be a loan with an obligation to buy next summer. So this is going to be a player that we know is going to be here for the long term. And the 23-year-old player who could play in all attacking positions, although I do think he has a preferred position, which I will cover a bit in the video. This is going to add something to our attacking layer, which of course we do need to see. And I think he won't be the only addition that we do see to the attacking lines. But of course, it is Julian Lopetegui's first signing, of which we could see 5 signings he's asked for potentially through this window. And what's interesting is he did ask for 3 of these potentially to be even done by January the 1st. And as we can see, we've already had one of them delivered. He wants his squad up and ready so he can fight this unfortunate relegation battle that we find ourselves in as Wolves fans. And of course, he wants to kind of put his standpoint and his footprint on the club quite early. But Matheus Cunha is the player that will be joining. As we found out from Fabrizio Romano, will be a loan with an obligation to buy. And I think there's a lot of positives from this. This is a player who was heavily linked to Manchester United just this summer. And to be fair, even in this transfer window, it looked like top clubs like Arsenal and Chelsea were looking at him. But we also know that there were other clubs interested, the likes of local rivals Aston Villa, Leeds United and Everton, who Everton really looked like they were the favourites until today, to be honest, because the information we were getting yesterday, which actually led me to record a video about this transfer in terms of what it could be good for Everton, was the fact that, we were led to believe that Everton were willing to pay the money up front, and that was more of an attractive proposition. But now we know that Atletico Madrid have chosen to go with this offer. Now, what's interesting about that, though, is that it was believed that Wolves were at the time were only willing to offer a loan with an option to buy. I don't know whether that would really change in the space of 24 hours. So I like to believe it's more that the journalists have got it wrong. But what is interesting is that Atletico Madrid were asking for around the 40 million euro mark. It has been confirmed by Fabrizio Romano that we will pay somewhere in between the 45 to 50 range. So it does make you wonder, being it's a loan with an obligation to buy, whether Atletico Madrid just looked at it and thought, well, these guys are potentially offering 5 or an extra 5 or 10 million more than what we asked for. Let's take this deal, even if we will be getting the payments at a later date. And obviously the purchase won't be officially confirmed to the summer. And it might suggest why Wolves have perhaps paid a little bit of a premium for this player. But of course, if he is a player that could come in and do an impact and, at this stage, just keep the team up, then it's already served its purpose, hasn't it? And it won't be the first time where a team sitting in those relegation battles has overpaid for a player potentially just by a little bit to get someone in that is going to basically save them. Of course, we look towards Newcastle last season, who did similar with the signing of Chris Wood. I would argue that this man does have a lot more potential, though. But then when we actually look at his stats this season, it's not fantastic viewing, but I do think we have to take it with a little bit of pinch of salt, and I will go into a reason why. Just 11 league appearances of this season, of which he's only started twice in the league, playing a total of 370 minutes. And what's maybe a little concerning is the goals particularly. Now, he has got 2 assists this season in the league, but he's yet to bag a goal. Now, look, the one thing that Wolves need is goals. I think there's no question about that. But what is interesting is we are getting a player who's got that more traditional, he's a traditional Brazilian player, attacking player, I should say. You know, when we think about Brazilians, how we describe them, you'd probably say someone that's good at dribbling. They've got that pace, they've got that kind of flair to the game, and they can take on players. This is exactly what Matheus Cunha can do. Now, he has been known to play out on the left wing. He can also play as the main striker. I think his best position, though, is as a number 10, maybe in and behind the striker, where we see him maybe partner up with Jimenez, where we see him partner up with Diego Costa. Could we see Fabio Silva record, or will we get another striker added to the ranks to basically add some goals to this team? All of those questions that we don't know yet. But I think he could potentially be the guy that sits in behind the striker, which may suggest that maybe either opponents will be moved out to the wing or possibly could be moved on. Now, I think one of the reasons that maybe we shouldn't be too nervous about his stats last season, if we do go back to the season before, 21-22 season, he did make 29 appearances. A lot of those were in the starting lineup, and he did get 6 goals and 6 assists. Now, just a bit more on about how he is as a player. This is a player that isn't afraid of taking a long shot, to be honest. He's not scared to shoot, which is something that I think is really good, because I think when you look at this team this season, I think they've been a bit guilty of not being the ones to want to pull the trigger, is how I would describe it. You know, sometimes we have just been continuously passing around the box with not really much product. Now, some would argue that is, of course, Bruno Lage's fault, who has now moved on. But at the same time, I think some of it comes down to the players that we've got. I don't think, the players that are naturally confident at shooting. I think they do offer a lot, but perhaps not natural shooters. So hopefully this man that is going to come in and isn't afraid to have a pop-up goal will add something to the team. Now, the last thing I wanted to pick up on, and this is just a little thing to finish off on, was couple of comments on his attitude, and I think you have to take, again, there's another thing you have to take with a pinch of salt, which I will explain why. But there was 2 times where he's playing for Hertha Berlin where his attitude was called into a bit of, was just called on, basically need to be changed. It has to be said, though, that one of those times was where he was getting linked with other clubs and eventually moved to Atletico Madrid. So you do feel maybe that was a bit of a play around, Hertha Berlin actually wanting to keep him. But there was another comment that came out when he was there at the time. It was following a game where there was a defeat. The manager did criticise him for being a little bit selfish. Now, again, I don't feel that's something that's necessarily bad for the squad that we've got. I do think our squad lacks that bit of intensity at times, that bit of, go and get it approach. So I don't think it's necessarily an awful thing that he may be a little selfish. And I'm sure under Julian Lopetegui, let's face it, if there is an attitude problem, he's not going to stand for it, is he? Guys, one last thing I wanted to cover in this video was this man, Isco. Now, it has been reported today that Seville have terminated his contract. It has been mutually agreed. And the main reason for that was it's believed that Isco has fell out with the sporting director. Now, one thing that is obviously interesting is maybe people are putting 2 and 2 together and making 5. But obviously he is coming from Seville, where, of course, Lopetegui is coming from. And it is believe that maybe Wolves would be interested in signing the experienced 30-year-old. I mean, look, this guy is a Champions League winner. He's done it all. Of course, he's maybe a little over the hill at 30 years old. But, man, if we could pull off this signing, what a great addition this would be. Is there anything concrete? No, but I think it is something to keep an eye out for. But, guys, if you have enjoyed the video, please do hit that like button and please do subscribe to the channel. We are a general football channel, but as you can see, I am a Wolves fan. We're going to be giving you updates on all the latest transfer news, not just Wolves, but other stuff as well. And obviously, of course, all news coming out of the Premier League, as well as Premier League predictions videos. So if you do like the sound of that, please do give us a like. Please do subscribe. And hopefully I'll catch you on the next one. Drop your opinions in the comments. Take care. Goodbye.